Hi there. Well, it's 1 o'clock, so I think we should get started. And I see that I think I've got everyone out of the waiting room now. Let me check one more time. Oh, one more person waiting. Let me let them in. All right. Well, I hope you had a good weekend and that things have been going okay in the foundation module and in this science part in particular. So today we have a live meeting. You're all here. And I'm going to record today's meeting. I actually did record the other two, but I didn't get the recording quite right. So I want to just share with you how this recording works. So the idea is that you can come back to the recording if there's something you missed or you wanted to go back to. Mostly we're going to be doing fun stuff today that you probably won't need to go back to, but in case you do. So the way Zoom captures the recording is it prioritizes the live mic and pulls in the webcam feed from the live mic. So if your mic is muted, the recording won't pick up the video. If you'd like to ask a question, but you don't want your face to be in the recording, simply switch off your cam before you turn on your mic. If you're not comfortable with either your camera or your mic being part of the recording, make sure you ask your questions in the chat window. Also, you should know that public chat messages are part of the recording and private chat messages are also recorded in a transcript that I get at the end of the session. Okay, so that's a little bit about how the recording works. So we're going to do an area estimation activity today by putting together your pictures of your windows. And then I've got some time for some general questions and some feedback. And then I was going to take up the in-class assignment for anyone who wants to stay and do that. That's the last thing I'll do today. The things that you need to do this week for week 2, this is our last week together, are, so hopefully you already looked at, some of you, I know you have, the 3 first videos that go with an Econestoga quiz. And I know some of you have even already done the quiz, which is great. And then there are 4 more videos, and then there's a group activity that goes with that for our last meeting, which is on Friday. Okay. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about how big a square foot and a square meter are. So we've been doing all these calculations. You did all these calculations for me where you were doing conversions. And some of you did an awesome job. Most of you did a really good job. Some of you got your conversion factors upside down. And I wanted to give you an idea of how big a square foot is and how big a square meter is so that if you do make a mistake, you'll notice because that's way too big or way too small. So here I have a picture of me with a ceiling tile that measures 1 square foot. So that means that this distance here is 1 foot and this distance here is 1 foot and the whole thing is 1 square foot. Okay, so you're probably fairly familiar with that. We tend to be less familiar with a square meter. And I found this picture of a square meter. So someone's made this on the floor. So this length is 1 meter. This length is 1 meter. And this whole thing is 1 square meter. So it's quite large. And you can see these guys in this picture over here all trying to stand on 1 square meter of floor. They're having a hard time. Okay, so I want you to imagine a square foot and a square meter. And then here's Kiara and her window. Everybody see her? And what I'd like to do is try a bit of a poll. This is my first time doing polls in Zoom, so hopefully it won't be too slow. Okay, so the first question here is what is the area of that window in square feet and square meters? So I've given you a range and you can see Kiara there. So you have an idea of how big that window is. And I want you to try to guess how big that area is, what the area of that window is in square feet and square meters. Can everyone see the poll? Yeah? Okay, good. And you're starting to put in some answers. So 12 of you have voted now. Still a few more to go. Okay, I've got 82% of you voted. I'm going to end the polling, and I'm going to share with you what you said. So for the area of the window in square feet, a lot of you said 6 to 10 square feet. It was actually 14 square feet, so a little bit bigger. So those of you who hit this 11 to 12 square feet, you were right on. In square meters, it was 1.3, so that's good. Most of you a lot of you were in the right area there. Great. Okay, now I haven't quite decided how many of these windows we want to do. I've got one for a bunch of you, but Erica's window is pretty big, so this might be a fun one to do. So I'm going to relaunch the poll. And again, what do you think the area of this whole window is in square feet and in square meters? Okay, 88% of you have responded, so I'm going to end the polling. Oh, 94% of you have responded. That's good. And I'm going to share the results. And okay, for the area of that window in square feet, I just realized now I should have given you one more category because it was actually 67 square feet. Okay, so those of you who guessed 41 to 60, you were the closest. And then in square meters, Erica's window was 6.2, so it was way down here in this last category. Okay, let's see what the next one is. Oh yeah, this was a good one. Ethan's window. It's quite different shape. So let's do this one for sure. So I'll relaunch the poll. What do you think? What's the area of Ethan's window in square feet and square meters? All right, most of you have voted. I'm going to share what we've got here. Okay, so most of you said 6 to 10 square feet. Very good. It was 7 square feet. And in square meters, okay, not too bad. It was 0.7 square meters. So a lot of you said 1.1 to 1.5, but you were in the right ballpark. I think you folks might be getting better at this. Okay, let's see who's next. Okay, how about Gabby's window? A lot of you had a window around this size, so this might be the only one of this size that I do. Okay, and it's just got a beautiful view there, my goodness. Okay, let's relaunch the poll. And see how you do with this one. Okay, here are the results. Um, Most of you thought 11 to 20 square feet. You're right. It was 14. And in square meters, it was 1.3. So, yeah, you guys are in the right ballpark. Very good. Let's see who's next. Okay. Now this one is around the same size. I think I'm going to skip this one because you folks are getting so good. So it's pretty similar. And here's Katie's window. That one's pretty similar too. I'm going to skip that one, I think. Well, this one might be good to do. Sabrina's window. It's really tall. Might be a little harder to guess. So I'll relaunch the polling on this one. Okay, good. Let's take a look. So Sabrina's window was 31 square feet, and most of you guessed 21 to 40. Awesome. And in square meters, it was 2.9. Nice. Most of you guessed 2.6 to 4. Super. Okay, let's see who else we've got. Okay, this is a nice small one, an unusual window here. So um, let's see what you think about this window. Wow, you all answered for the first time. 100. All of you, 100%. Okay, and yes, it was in the very smallest category. For both, it was 2.3 square feet and 0.22 square meters. Okay, I think I'm going to skip this one too. That was a lovely picture because this one is similar to some other ones we did. And Juliana's, oh, let's do this one. Okay, so another poll for you here. Okay, this one was actually, yep, again, people are getting, yep, this is, everyone's right in the right ballpark. Very good. Okay, I think we can probably stop doing this soon, but let's see what other pictures we've got. See if there's another one that looks like it would be fun to do. That's a little bit different in size or shape. Oh yeah, this one is really big. We have to do this one. Um, okay, here's your next poll for this Kelly's window. All right, so Kelly's window was 57 square feet and 5.3 square meters. So yeah, if you chose the 41 to 60 square feet, that was right on. And yep, it was actually this last category, 5.1 to 7. So, but people were close who chose that second last one there. I think you're getting both faster and more accurate as we do this. Okay, here we've got a nice jog in the picture, but we've done another window around that same size. Okay, do you want to do one more? Do you want to do Chloe's window? It was the last one. One more? Okay, we'll do this one last one. And I see you sharing information about how tall you are to help each other out. That's nice. Okay, so Chloe's window was 21 square feet. So some of you thought it was in the 11 to 20 square feet category. You were very close. And in square meters, let's see, it was 2 square meters. So yep, the category that most of you chose was the right one. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing those. And that's our estimation section. When I teach this class live, I usually have people estimate the areas of different parts of the classroom, and then we go and measure them. This is what I came up with as a substitute for this year. Hopefully I'll be able to do it in a classroom again next year. I really like being in a classroom, actually being with people. Okay, I put this slide here in case there were any general questions or feedback for me. You can either use chat or you can unmute your mic if there's something that you want to communicate, you want to ask, you want to comment on. I'll give you a couple minutes to do that. Okay, so I haven't got any questions or feedback. So I think what I'll do is I'll go on to taking up the in-class assignment. So if the in-class assignment, some of you, the in-class assignment was kind of a breeze, I think. So, um, so you might not choose to stay, and that's fine. But if you struggled with the in-class assignment, I was just going to walk through it and answer questions as they come up. But I see I do have a question in the chat. It says, if we haven't gotten through all the videos yet and we have questions, can you email me after class? Of course you can. Yeah, send me an email. We can even set up a private Zoom meeting to sort out any questions, okay? All right, so I'm going to go on to my next slide, which is just going through the in-class assignment. So again, if this is something that you don't feel like you really need, feel free to go if you don't need this review. Yeah. And yeah, so class is over if you don't need this review. Yeah, it was a short one today, but I know, but from marking, I know that there's a big range of people's comfort levels. And so I want to spend some time with people who are struggling with that part today and let the rest of you go. Maybe you can get through those other 4 videos or the quiz. And I will just see you for our last meeting on Friday, unless you get in touch with me in the meantime. Okay, so for whoever wants to stay, the first question on your in-class assignment looked like this. It said, and I've just done this on a PowerPoint slide because it's easier for me to mark it up. It says a room measures 50 feet by 50 feet 6.5 inches by 24 feet 3 3/4 inches, and you were supposed to find the dimensions in decimal feet. And most of you got through this okay. We had a little bit of a chance to talk about it while we were all together on Friday, so I think that helped a little bit. Okay, so for this one, you want to think about, well, let me make sure my pen is working properly. Yep, okay. So, oops. I'm having trouble finding the right slide. Okay, so we've got 50 feet. And then we have this 6.5 inches, and we would like to express that in feet. So I'm going to write it here as 6.5 inches, and then we're going to need to do a conversion. So I'm going to multiply by 1 foot over 12 inches. Okay, so once you've done this, you'll have the 50 feet still in feet, and you'll have this number in feet now too. So this is going to come out to 50 feet. I'll write just FT for feet there. And then this comes out to about 0.541 feet. And so you end up with 50.541 feet. And it's a similar process for the other dimension. Maybe I won't go through all the details of that unless one of you asks me to. But for the other one, you should end up with 24.3125 feet. Does anyone need a little more detail on that part, or is that part basically okay? Okay, I hear silence, so I'm going to move on. Okay, so to find the area of the room in square feet, you should just multiply these two dimensions together. So we're just doing area equals length times width here. And you should get around 1,229 square feet. And I wasn't being at all picky about rounding here. Okay, well, there's some rounding in the last question, but for this one, if you have something in the ballpark, I'm happy. Okay, then for finding the area of the room in square meters, I would suggest you take your answer and ideally an unrounded version of the answer. I'm just going to write it the way it is here. And then we need a conversion fraction. So you can use your sheet, that PDF with all the conversion fractions on it. And there are a few different ways you can write it down. But one way is this: 1 square foot is 0.09290304 square meters. Okay, and then the feet will cancel out, and you should be left with approximately 114 square meters. This number here, by the way, is 0.3048 squared. Okay, this is how many meters there are in a foot. Because we're dealing with the squared units, we needed to square that number. And you can either square this like so, or you can use this number here that's already squared. They both work. Does anyone have a question about this part of the in-class assignment?
I don't have one about this, but I did. Could you go over the one about the 24.3125 again?
Sure. Okay, so just have to rearrange my screen a little bit here. Let's see. Okay. So for that one, yeah, you have 24 feet plus you've got 3 3/4. So I'm going to write that as 3.75 inches. And again, I'm going to multiply by 1 foot over 12 inches. And so I get 24 feet plus, in this case, it's 0.3125 feet. And then when you add those together, you get the 24.3125 feet. Does that answer your question?
So if the 12 is on the bottom, you're dividing?
Yeah, if the 12 is on the bottom, you're dividing. Okay, so
Okay.
this is 3.75 times 1 because it's on the top, which you don't need to do because it gives the same answer, and then divided by 12 because it's on the bottom.
Okay.
All right. So I think I will go on to the second question now. That was where people had the most trouble. So I might not even have, oh, I think I did leave myself a second slide in case I ran out of room. Okay, so we had this wall, if you remember, that was 14 feet wide and measured 9 feet 2 inches from floor to ceiling. And it had these baseboards that were 6 3/4 inches high, as well as this stained crown molding that extends 3.5 inches below the ceiling. And then the wall has these 2 identical windows with outer dimensions given in millimeters, just to make you crazy, right? All these different units. And you need to determine what it will cost to paint the wall. So you're supposed to figure out what the paintable surface is. And there are lots of ways to go about this problem. I think the most common way that people went about it was like this. They thought of this wall and the molding up there and the baseboard down here and then the 2 windows. And they thought of it as a whole bunch of different areas. So they found the area of the outside, and then they found the area of the moldings, and the area of the baseboards, and the area of the windows, and they subtracted those areas from the main part. So that's the way I think I'm going to approach it. There are lots of other ways to do it. Okay, so let's start with the area of the whole thing. Okay, so I'm going to call that area wall. Okay, so this is the entire wall. So it was 14 feet by 9 feet 2 inches. So the first thing that you really need to deal with there is, well, how do I write that down, that 9 feet 2 inches, right? You're going to need it in decimal feet. So we'll do the 14 feet. And then we need to multiply by the 9 feet 2 inches. So the way to do this is you're going to think of it as 9 plus 2 over 12 feet. Okay, because there are 12 inches in a foot. Okay, so this is going to end up looking like 14 times, your calculator will give you 9.16 repeating. And you should get, I think it was 128, about 128 feet, square feet, sorry. Okay, so that's the whole outside. And then we need to do the baseboards and the molding and the windows. So let's tackle them each individually. Unless anyone has a question about the wall, we might want to deal with that now if you have a question about that first area. Okay, So the baseboards, I'll write that as a base. Okay, we're going to need to, so that's down here. We're going to need 14 feet across, and they were 6 3/4 inches tall. So you might wonder, well, should I calculate this in inches or should I calculate it in feet? Well, this is in square feet, so let's do the whole thing in square feet. So I'm gonna want to take that 6 3/4 inches and turn that into something in feet. So 6 3/4 is 6.75, and I'm going to divide that by 12 to get it into feet. And I'm going to multiply that by the 14 feet. And let's see. Looks like when I did that, I got 7.875 square feet. And then something similar for the moldings at the ceiling. Those were only 3.5 inches. So I'm going to take 3.5 divided by 12 to express that in feet. I'm going to multiply by 14 feet. And I've got 4.0824 square feet. Okay, so those two things were different. And then there's the area of the windows. And there's a couple different ways to do that. One way is to figure out the area of the windows in square millimeters and then convert to square feet. I guess you'd have to go through square meters along the way. And I think that's how I'm going to do it actually. So for the windows, so I'm going to start off in the units that are given. So that's 1,524 millimeters. That's multiplied by 762 millimeters. And that gave me 1,161,288 square millimeters. And then the way I tackled this, and again, there are lots of ways, was to convert that to square meters. Oops, sorry. I was thinking ahead here. That's in square millimeters. Okay, so in square millimeters, if we compare those to square meters, well, in 1 square meter, there are going to be 1,000 square millimeters. Okay, so you know that in 1 meter there are 1,000 millimeters, so in 1 square meter there are 1,000 square millimeters. So this ends up giving me this number in square meters. And then we still have to get into square feet to compare with these other areas. So we'll have to continue here. And we've already seen this particular unit conversion, though it is the other way around this time. I'm going to put my feet squared on the top and 0.09290304 square meters on the bottom. And you end up with 12.5 square feet. Okay, now there are 2 windows. So this is a single window here. I better make a little note of that over here. This is a single window. So both windows, the area is going to be 25 square feet. Okay, so now we have all the pieces. We're just going to take the area of the wall, the 128 square feet. We're going to subtract off the area of the baseboards, the area of the molding, and the area of both windows. And that should give us the paintable surface of the wall. So I'm going to do that on the next slide, and then we'll do a unit conversion as well. So the total area then is our 128 minus the 7.875 minus the 4.0824 minus the 25, and these are all in square feet. So, and you should get approximately 91 square feet here. Okay. Um, how about questions about number 2A, either stuff that's on this slide or stuff that was on the last slide? Something you didn't quite get, or you tried a different way that you want to ask about? Okay. Then I'll go on to the unit conversion at the bottom here. Again, this one has already come up, but you're going to take your 91 square feet and convert to square meters. And you should end up with something like 8.5 square meters. And some of you did get this upside down. And that was part of the reason I wanted to do the estimating activity that we just did, so that you really have a sense of a square meter being way bigger than a square foot. So that, because if you got this upside down, you would get some really huge number here, right? So you should be able to use common sense at the end to say, oh, that can't be right. Let me go back and check what happened. Okay, so that's the end of question number 2. Let me go on to number 3 here. Okay, so this one was kind of a significant figures and unit conversion type question. So the first part just says the volume of a warehouse is 92,800 cubic feet, and it asks how many significant figures there are in that. And so what I want you to remember is that numbers that are not zeros are definitely significant figures. Numbers that are zeros can just be placeholders. And unless they're put after the decimal place, that is generally speaking what they are. So this 92,800 cubic feet, the way that's written, it means, well, it could have been 92,700 cubic feet, or it could have been 92,800 900 cubic feet. It says that we're not so sure about this number right here before the zeros. Okay, so this is 3 significant figures. The zeros are just placeholders here. And what can be kind of confusing on the subject of significant figures is if I had 92.800, that would be 5 significant figures, because we would only bother writing these 2 down, these 2 at the end, if we wanted to illustrate that we had measured something with a great deal of certainty, that we'd measured it all the way down to the 3rd decimal place. And these zeros over here, they're just a way of saying that 8, it belongs in the hundreds column. So it's a little different. Okay, so 3 significant figures there. And then you have to do a unit conversion and round your answer. So the unit conversion would look like this. Now we've got cubic feet, and we're trying to get into cubic meters. So you should find this number on your sheet, but this is also connected to this number, right, which is just the relationship between meters and feet. Here we would have to cube it in order to get this number. Okay, so we do that, and you get, your calculator gives you 26,000 something or other, or sorry, 2,600 something or other. And here we should round to the same number of significant figures that we had in the original problem. So I'm going to round this to 2,630 cubic meters, which might feel a little unintuitive, but if we only knew the original quantity to 3 significant figures, we can't know it more precisely or more accurately after we do a unit conversion. So we stick with the 3 significant figures. Okay, that's what there was to that in-class assignment. Maybe you have some questions now or something else you'd like to ask about. You are welcome, um, but I will stick around for a few more minutes in case you've come up with a question for me, something you want to ask about. All right, so let me just maybe summarize with some things you should be doing this week. So remember, you have 3 videos. They are on scaling and temperature unit conversions and scientific and engineering notation. You've got 3 videos to watch. Hopefully you already did that yesterday. And they go with an Econestoga quiz, which you can try 3 times. And then there are 4 more videos. They're on more physicsy kind of topics. Um, they're about forces and pressure and density. I'd like you to try to watch those 4 videos in preparation for our Friday class. Where we'll be doing an activity in groups where you have to use some of those ideas of force and density and pressure. And then that will be the end of this science unit, and hopefully you'll feel a little bit more ready to take on the rest of the semester. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, because that way I can see you better. How are you doing? Those of you who are left.
Conversions are kind of confusing still. I don't
Conversions.
understand where a bunch of these numbers come from. Like the last question 3, like the top number over like the cubic, like over the 1 foot cubic,
Mhm.
and like I don't. Where are you getting those numbers?
Okay, let me find your conversion sheet and let's find them together. Okay. Okay, Jamie, you have this sheet, right? Are you still there?
Yeah. Where would I find that?
So it's in Econestoga
Mhm.
under week 1.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of the conversion factors, like among metric units, are things that if you're good at the metric prefixes, you can just figure out. But the ones between metric and imperial, if you use them a lot, you start to remember them, but they're all weird. You basically just have to look them up or use them so often that they start to stick in your head. So in those examples that I was just talking about, let's see, I used this one. Oops, I don't think I have a draw going here. Let's see. No, apparently I can only use an eraser. Technology sometimes works. Okay, at the beginning of the area part, you can see that 1 square foot equals 0.0929 square meters. I used that. And at the beginning of the volume section, the 1 cubic foot equals so many cubic meters. I used that one too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, yeah?
Mhm.
Okay.